Excellent. It's so good to meet you. Thank you so much for taking a minute out today. I appreciate it.
You too.
So, before we get into your world of writing, broadcasting, and coaching, I want to know first and foremost 5 years ago, this pandemic was raging. We were figuring it out. It threw so many things into the unknown. So, now that the proverbial dust is settled, how did you survive a pandemic and how is it radiated into your life today?
Oh wow. That was a hard time.
Yeah.
And that was such an unusual time. If anybody had told me that was going to happen, I would have said, "No, you're crazy. Well, we won't be locked up in our houses, right?"
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I still had 3 out of 4 kids at home during that time. So we were doing. I've always homeschooled
Yeah.
the kids anyway, so that part was pretty easy. But they did have some classes they were doing outside on video and that sort of thing. I think it was a lot harder on them than it was on me as an adult. And then my husband runs his own company from home, so he
Yeah.
continued really unfettered. So yeah, but that was a wild time. And luckily, as far as I know, I've never had it. So
Wow.
look at me.
That's rare. Yeah. Science needs to take a look at your genome and see what's going on. You might,
I Yeah, I just won't accept it. I'm just not accepting.
that's good. That's excellent. I love it. It's weird because I think about that time too, and the kids were the ones that
Yeah.
really took a lot of the damage from it. They didn't have enough years. We at least had a good portion of our lives without anything like that happening. And here they come in. But I do remember a friend of mine in January, early January, told me that he got a letter from a school district that said, be braced and be aware that there may be a really big closure. And it was such a shocking statement to me because my son's on the spectrum and he loves school. I was like, no, 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 just like you with getting COVID, like, no,
Yeah.
I'm not going to be a part of it. And then, of course, it happened. But I did see a newspaper from Beijing around the same time, and no one was in downtown Beijing. And they said
Mm-hmm.
it was one of the most eerie thing. It was an eerie picture, and I was like, what is this thing called coronavirus?
Yeah.
And then, of course, that was the time that Americans boycotted the beer and then bought all the toilet paper. All of the weird outgrowths of our national
Yeah.
hysteria came to full effect.
Yeah.
So,
So strange.
yeah, very strange. So, let's get into the work that you do. And the best way to understand what you do on a daily basis is to put you in front of children. So, I'm going to put you in front of a bunch of fifth graders. It's career day. The kid in the back of the room that's always curious is like, hey, what do you do for a living? What's your answer?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I talked to mommies about how to enjoy their life with daddy. Right?
Yeah.
So, um, yeah, I talked to married women about how to be happy, how to be ridiculously happy in their life,
Yeah.
right? Because when two people live together for a long time, no matter who they are, they both have faults and flaws and they have difficulties and sometimes they argue, right? Just like you do with your friends. And I teach them how to uh, show up better in their relationships and create a happy, peaceful home that
Yeah.
you want to live in.
What did you want to be when you were 12 years old? What was your dream life?
Oh, that's funny. When I went to college, they had to force me to choose a major
Yeah.
because I just didn't know. I didn't have one of those clear cut, like I want to be. Of course, for me growing up, there was only a few options. There was nurse, there was teacher, there was secretary. That was like all I knew about.
Yeah.
So I had a very limited viewpoint about what was going on in the world.
Yeah.
I can say I was always interested in psychology, but I think the math is what turned me off of that ultimately in college. So
Yeah.
turns out for coaching, you don't have to have any math training. So
Yeah.
that was good news for me.
So, what were the foundational elements? Take me back to your childhood. What were the seeds that were planted that has allowed you to get to this point to coach women to a better place in their lives? What were those things that were sown that evolved into who you are today?
Yeah, so interesting. Well, first, I would say growing up, people would tease our family that we were the Leave It to Beaver family.
Yeah.
My mom and dad were very happy and very peaceful, and we just had a very storybook kind of life. You know, two kids, my older brother and me, my mom and dad. Everything was just right. My mom stayed at home. She baked homemade everything. I didn't eat Oreos or Chips Ahoy, right? My mom
Yeah.
made homemade cookies and all of those things. And so it was very idyllic until it wasn't anymore.
Right.
And so, right after my junior year in high school, my dad had to move to get a new job, and we were going to stay back and sell the house, finish up my school year, and then go to be with my dad. My brother had gone to college. And when we got there, it was only 3 months' time, but when we got there, something was not right. And so through my junior year was a difficult year of what is going on. And finally, it was discovered that my dad was involved with someone else. And ultimately, he was going to leave our family. And the interesting thing about that is that I'm a junior in high school. I'm in a new school, right? We moved, I went to a different high school every year.
Yeah.
So I'm just trying to figure myself out, right?
Huh?
But meanwhile, my brother from college is calling me and he's saying, "Is everything okay there? I'm getting some bad vibes. Like, what's going on with mom and dad?" And I'm like, "What are you talking about? You know, everything's fine."
Yeah.
Well, he was involved. And so my parents divorced right before my senior year and we moved again. So I had to do my senior year somewhere new. So that, I think that is really the foundation of what I saw: a beautiful marriage, and then this sudden breakdown and crash, to the point where my line was, "I'm never getting married. Why would I get married? After 21 years, he just ups and leaves me with two kids." And, my mom had not worked. When we moved here to Lexington, I mean, she didn't know how to get us a place to live, how to
Wow.
get a job, how to do any of the things. It was a wreck. And I said, that will never happen to me. I'm going to
Yeah.
go to college, I'm going to get a degree, I'm going to make lots of money, and I'm never going to depend on a man.
Right. So, talk to me a little bit about your evolution, the point where you realized this was your path, this was your voice to coach and to help people. Did you have a client? Did you have an epiphany? How did you get to this point?
Hmm. Well, I have been a person who has attracted women to me, particularly with the marriage and family kind of issues for a long time, and I've always enjoyed that. But I didn't have a system or any way of going about it. It was just off the top of my head and based on my own experience. But about 3 years ago, my husband and I came into kind of a rough patch with some ongoing issues that weren't resolving themselves, even though I was reading all the books and I was taking us to all the marriage conferences and all of these things. Well, I came across a 5-day challenge on Facebook by New York Times bestselling author Laura Doyle. She wrote a book called The Empowered Wife, and I joined that 5-day challenge. And when I saw the things she was teaching, I was like, this is incredible. This is different than any other marriage book I've read. And it was really speaking to me because I had been in a place where I'm sitting waiting for my husband to change, right? He
Yeah.
needs to do this, he needs to stop doing this, these things, and then I can be happy,
Yeah.
right? Well, that wasn't her approach at all. Her approach was, no, what are you going to do to turn this ship around? And
Yeah.
I thought, well, I can't because it's all his fault, right?
Right. Yeah.
That's what we all believe.
Yeah.
But I began to implement some of the things that she was teaching, and I started seeing change right away.
Yeah.
And I reached out for coaching. I found out that she had a coaching organization. And my first call with my coach, I said, I want to do what she's doing.
Yeah.
I'm passionate about marriage. I want people to not just stay together, I want them to thrive in their marriage.
Yeah.
I want to be a part of this.
So the most important question here is this. How did you go from saying I'm never going to get married to being happily married for 30 years? What was the
Yeah.
moment? How did all that happen?
Yeah. Isn't that crazy?
Right.
Well, I met my husband, and he was completely different than anyone else I had met or dated. and it was, I guess, irresistible. I don't know.
Yeah.
But I took a chance. I took a chance, and I jumped in faith. And I mean, ultimately, it was never going to work out for me not to get married because I knew
Right.
I wanted to have kids and all the rest.
Yeah.
So I did that. Soon after we got married, um, I I found the Lord found me, and I was saved and baptized, and through that I learned to trust in God rather than trusting in my husband as a man, right? As a
Yeah.
just a human dude.
Sure. So let me ask you this. The one thing, there's two things that are some of the most important things that we do when we leave any schooling, and it's relationships and finances. And we just don't really get taught that. And we really don't get taught any of these skills that help us in a relationship,
Yeah.
right? Is there any way to not just have to live and fail and find your way? Or is that just the education that we have to go through as humans?
I know, it's so exhausting, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because, and I say that all the time, no one teaches us how to be successful in love.
Hmm.
I'm not surprised that the divorce rate is as high as it is, right?
Yeah.
Because, like I said before, two flawed people come together. And I tell my kids all the time, you can live with your best friend. I don't care who you live with, there's going to be strife, there's going to be problems because two human beings have different ways of doing things. So it's not about, did I pick the right person? No, you picked a flawed human being. So there's going to be issues. But
Yeah.
yes, there are skills to learn to be successful in a relationship. And that's what I teach now is 6 intimacy skills. And to me, it's very important for the women because we are very influential when it comes to the relationship.
Yeah.
And my experience has been that when I show up different, my husband responds to me different. He
Yes.
responds to me wonderfully, and I get more of what I want, and we're both happy.
So the thing that gets me all the time is that men and women are so different. Like it astonishes me half the time that we even can like get together and get along because we're vastly wired differently,
Yes.
you know? But I mean, I guess that's just the way that life is. I mean, there's going to be polarities, and
Hmm.
we've seen it in our society even now. Everything is so fractioned out as black and white, and there's got to be some kind of gray area, you know? There's got to be a way of getting in there and meeting in the middle. So, my question to you is this: as you get into this level of coaching, what's the first thing that you have to address that's kind of universal that women have to get over to get to that
Mm.
point where they really start changing and things get better?
Mm. Well, let me first say that that polarity that you're talking about is actually a beautiful thing
Yeah.
that is meant to be, right? And part of the problem that we're dealing with today, I think, is when I show up, feminine as a woman and my husband shows up masculine as a man, we are attracted to one another like magnets,
Yeah.
right? And that's the way it's meant to be, and
Yeah.
it's beautiful. But when society and everybody today is trying to blur those lines and trying to make me more powerful and masculine, and I'm going to be in charge, and then pushing it just doesn't work the same.
Yeah.
And so that's part of it, is that I think we've been resisting our femininity, which causes our husbands to not be as attracted to us. And then our husbands have been told not to be so strong and masculine, which is causing us to not be as attracted as we would have been. So, and it's not this terrible, whatever 1950s kind of a thing that I'm talking about. I'm
Yeah.
just
Sure.
talking about male and female being attracted to one another.
I get it. I
But
totally get it. Yeah.
yeah, but what you said about what's the first thing that I need to address, really, Joe, with almost all of my clients, the first thing I need to address is just their own personal happiness, right? Because women get so caught up in taking care of everybody and doing everything that they've not done anything for themselves or to take care of themselves so that they can show up happy in the marriage, in the parenting, in the household, right? And so they're grumpy, they're gripey, they're angry, they're resentful. And miserable people do not have happy relationships. Happy people do.
Yeah.
So let's get wife happy. And how do we do that? We've got to remind her, what do you love? What do you enjoy? Do you like gardening? Do you like going for walks? Do you want to go for coffee with a friend? Do you want to take a hot bath? Do you want to read a mystery novel? I don't know.
Yeah.
Let's try to remember what brings you joy, and let's try to start implementing some of those things every day. She feels selfish for doing that, but her husband loves it when
Right.
she does that. He would rather her not do the dishes and read that chapter in her book if that's going to put a smile on her face
Yeah.
and cause her to be happy when he comes home from work. Am I right?
Yeah, absolutely. Let me ask you this. From the heartbreak of your junior year of seeing kind of the disintegration of kind of that nuclear family model that you were used to who you have evolved to as a coach right now, who has been that hero, that inspirational force that's allowed you to evolve into who you are?
Oh, wow, that's a hard one. Well, I have watched my mom overcome all of that
Yeah.
and be unbelievably strong. She's in a position now where she's living in a house that's paid off. She's got money saved up. She travels and she does. She takes care of herself and is a happy, fulfilled woman, which to me feels like a miracle.
Yeah.
So yeah, we can overcome and we can do hard things. And so yeah, I think watching her has been really inspiring for me because I did not know if she would recover from that.
And being at that position of strength that she's at now, unfortunately, humans have to go through the heartbreak. We've got to go through that terrible phase of our lives to actually become stronger humans. Maybe it's that whole Darwinian notion of evolution. I mean, it just has to be a part of the equation. You can't just go through and have an idyllic existence.
Mm,
It's got to crash sometimes. Um,
mm.
so, is there someone alive on the planet right now that you're fascinated by, that you find inspirational, that you would love to meet and hang out with and just talk to them?
Hmm. Well, I would love to meet Princess Kate and talk to her and
Yeah,
find out, what it's like to live in her shoes for a day. I can't imagine.
yeah.
So that would be interesting. I don't know if she's a hero or anything like that, but I would find it fascinating to talk with her.
Yeah, well, I mean, you got to figure in that lifestyle, you're under the microscope all the time.
Yeah,
you
yeah,
know and a lot of the women that have married into this existence were never used to it. All the rest
right.
of the princes and all of the people have been used to that life, so you all of a sudden get thrust. So to me, it's not a mystery to me that Megan and uh what's his face, who came to America, all of
Yeah,
that blew up.
Harry.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
there's just, to me,
Yeah.
it's like there was going to be that black sheep that was going to be like, yeah, I don't know about all
No
this.
thanks. Yeah.
I got to get out. So,
Yeah.
let me ask you a philosophical question. How do you balance with being a family woman, taking care of your
Mm-hmm.
own soul, kind of putting your money where your mouth is as a coach, and
Mm-hmm.
delving into very deep stuff with your clients? What's the
Mm-hmm.
motivator every day for you to get up to balance that? Do you have a Libratic notion that goes into your existence, or how do you do it?
A Libratic notion? What is that?
I made it up. Libra. I'm a Libra. Sorry. I just
Okay.
threw something into the lexicon.
That's a hoot. That is a hoot. I feel very, like I said, I feel very passionate about marriage and family. I experienced the effects of divorce. I experience the effects of divorce even today.
Yeah.
People want to say, oh, kids are resilient and they'll overcome and all that. Well, sure, I've overcome. I have a great life.
Yeah.
But there's not a day that goes by that I don't wish that my parents were together and could watch their grandkids grow up and that sort of thing. So can kids survive it? Yes. I don't want them to have to. So I would love to end world divorce. And not just that, like I said, you and I know lots of people who have stayed married
Yeah.
and it's not pretty. No, I want people to enjoy their marriage and their family. I want their kids to grow up and see a beautiful picture of marriage that they want to be married, right?
Yeah.
Marriage is falling in our society today. If you watch the current movies and the rom-coms, marriage isn't the beautiful ending that it used to be. It used to be the ending was marriage.
Yeah.
Now the ending is maybe we'll live together, maybe we'll have a couple of kids, these different things. No, we I want to bring back the beauty of marriage, and the way to do that is to help, women find and couples find, why did they get together to begin with,
Yeah.
right? You and I are the same boy and girl that we were when we got engaged, when we started dating, but we have gotten buried underneath some family and responsibility and jobs and all the rest. So we just need to uncover that girl and boy that fell in love,
Yeah.
and start stirring up those embers again, and it can be done. So I just want to be like this beacon of hope, like it really is possible to not just stay married but to be really happy and thrive in marriage, and I want to help women to do that.
So, other than your personal story, what's your favorite love story of all time?
Oh gosh. Oh, I don't know. Here's what I'll tell you. When I went through my coach training, it was a year-long training, and I was in with 12 other women. 12 women from all over, not just the United States, but England, New Zealand, all over, right? Different religions, different cultures, everyone with their own unique love story in marriage. And I watched every single marriage grow and get happier and more connected and more passionate and more playful. Every single one of them. So I know that these skills work, and they don't just work on me or, on these particular couples. They work.
Yeah.
So I just can't wait to share them with any woman who wants to see her marriage improve, whether she's in crisis and he's already gone with another woman and she wants to win him back, or whether she just thinks, I think it could be better than it is.
So, of everything that you've accomplished and evolved into in your life, what are you the proudest of?
Oh, I'm the proudest of my kids and my grandkids. Yeah.
Nice. Yeah.
It's amazing to see. Yeah. And now to see my daughter as a mother, it's beautiful to see.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, everyone has a perception of you, family, friends, clients, everyone that knows you, but you run the show. What's your perception of you? Who do you think you are?
Who I think I am. I am a work in progress, right?
Yeah.
I am trying every day to do better than yesterday and to enjoy my life and be content in all my circumstances.
So, if you were to walk into a room of all of your clients that you've had throughout the years that have known you in a professional sense, and you can tell that room of people one fun story about you, one just thing they may not understand, they may not know about you. First concert, jumping out of an airplane, wrestling a crocodile, something really fun. What would be a really fun story that you could tell that room of people?
Oh my gosh. No, no, no crocodile wrestling. No, thank you. And no jumping out of planes, no
Yeah,
interest.
yeah.
Um, well, I mean, I did go zip lining through the rainforest in Costa Rica
Oh,
once. My
wow.
husband and I did. That was super fun.
Yeah.
And I actually did the crazy one where I wrapped my legs around some guide and tipped over backwards
Uh-oh.
going through there. That's probably the wildest thing I've ever
So how long
done.
is that? Is that a really long?
It's pretty long, yeah.
So, but is it amazing? You're just like looking down at the land and it's like you're flying?
Yeah, and it goes from like from here to here, and then from here to here. It's kind of
I
like
gotcha.
dot to dot.
Okay.
But there is literal like monkeys, in the
Yeah.
trees and
Yeah.
things. So yeah, I thought Costa Rica was just one of the most amazing places that we've
Yeah.
traveled to as far as, and I'm not a big wildlife person, but lots of wildlife and beautiful. Oh, I loved it.
So when the pandemic was happening, I really did a lot more interviews with jazz musicians.
Oh,
And I remember calling up and talking to a pianist from New York and around May of 2020 when the pandemic was really kind of unfolding. And he sold everything and went to Costa Rica and became a surfer. So I would play all these interviews for my kids, my stepdaughter and my son.
yeah.
And she listened to that one specifically. And you can hear the surf in the background and the macaws because he went to Costa Rica. And you can hear the wildlife, and she to this day still talks about that, hearing that big exotic bird in the background, the
Yeah.
sound of the surf. But I've always wanted to get out there because it just seems like something unreal. I mean, coming from the Midwest where there's already not a body of water and there's
Yeah.
no mountains, to see something like that with everything and all of the exotic animals that we read about as kids in books, that would be completely
Yeah.
wild.
My husband calls it poor man's Hawaii
Okay,
because we thought it was a lot like Hawaii as far as the beauty and everything, but less expensive. So
that's it. That yeah, that's the bottom line. So if anyone wants to reach out, they want to hire you, they have questions, any of the good business, where do they go?
my business is called Relationships with a Map. So you can go to my website, relationshipswithamap.com, or you can find me on any of the social medias at Relationships with a Map.
Okay, this is excellent. Cristie, thank you so much for your story. Thank you for your time. Best of luck with everything. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Joe.
Thank you. Hello, friends. Joe Dimino here. I just wanted to let you know that after 30 years or so, I have finally released my first book of poetry through the mighty Spartan Press here in Kansas City, Missouri. As the creator and host of both Neon Jazz Radio and the Famous Interviews with Joe Dimino podcast, along with being a visual artist, I'm ready to embark on a new adventure and want you to be a part of it. You can get a copy online via Barnes & Noble, Amazon, and actually on the streets in Kansas City at the great Prospero's bookstore off 39th Street. You can also visit joedimino.com for links to the book, to more poetry, and everything in my world, including paintings. Thanks for all of the love and support over the years, and please dig the words.